Level 1. 20,000 a year. That's about $10 an hour, and it decides almost everything about how you live before you ever get a say in it. After taxes, you bring home just under $1,500 a month, and $800 of that goes to rent for a single room. It's a room in a house full of people you barely know. You live by the landlord's rules, and at night, you lie awake, listening to strangers moving around in the rooms above you. You buy whatever's cheapest. Canned soup, the store brand of everything, the meat that's marked down because it goes bad tomorrow. It isn't a diet you chose, it's just what's left after the bills are paid. Your car has 210,000 miles on it and a warning light that's been glowing on the dash for months. You can't afford to find out what it means, so you keep driving and hope it holds. You put in $15 of gas at a time because filling the tank all the way means some other bill doesn't get paid that week. Everything you spend, you're taking away from something else. Then one afternoon, you're at the register with a bottle of detergent and a sandwich, and your card gets declined. There's no mistake, and nothing on the way to fix it. The account is empty, and payday is still 2 days off. You step out of line and leave the food on the counter. The cashier waits, and so does the person behind you, and everyone can see exactly what just happened. Something shuts down inside you that has nothing to do with the money. At night, on your break, you sit in the parking lot and scroll past people you went to school with. Their new jobs, their vacations, their houses, all of it moving past on a screen while you eat in the car. You don't hate them for any of it. After a while, you just stop opening the app, because seeing how far ahead everyone else is doesn't change your situation. It only makes the night feel heavier. You look for better work late at night, but every job that pays more asks for experience you can't get without already having a job like it. It isn't that you aren't trying. You're stuck in a cycle that keeps handing you the same answer. What keeps you up at night isn't this month's bills. It's the fear that there's no way out of this, that next year is going to look exactly like this one. At $10 an hour, you don't really get to make your own choices. The money makes them for you, and all you can do is live with whatever it decides. Level 2. 35,000 a year. It still isn't good money, but it's the first paycheck that stops feeling like it might vanish at any moment. It comes with health insurance and a paycheck that lands on the same day every time. There's even a job title under your name in your emails, and it makes you feel like you've finally become someone with a real place in the world. You get your own apartment. 1 bedroom, a small kitchen, and a door that locks behind you when you come home. For the first time, the quiet inside those walls belongs only to you. It's a small thing, but after years of sharing space with strangers, it feels like the most valuable thing you've ever paid for. You fill the gas tank all the way to full and sit there for a second, watching the pump stop on its own. Anyone who's never had to ration gas will never understand how good that small moment feels. Still, 35,000 doesn't go far in a city where a 1-bedroom costs $1,200 a month. The fear never really leaves. It just gets quieter, sitting in the back of your mind instead of the front. One bad month could still pull you right back under, and you know it. For the first time, though, you start noticing the people who earn a little more than you. They aren't rich, but their lives look looser, less braced for a disaster. 35,000 is the first paycheck that lets you lift your head and look at where other people are. Once you do, you can't go back to not seeing it. Level 3. 50,000 a year. You're right in the middle now, average in the most ordinary sense of the word. You did everything the way you were supposed to, and you ended up exactly where most people end up. A degree, a steady job, and a paycheck every 2 weeks. You've got a one-bedroom in a decent part of town, a car with plenty of good years left in it, and a credit card you manage to pay off most months. You can order dinner without checking your bank balance first. But the strange part is that something which once felt impossible now feels like nothing at all, and that quietly bothers you more than you expected. One night, you do the math on your whole future. 50,000 a year, 30 more years of work, the usual small raises along the way. You end up with just enough to get by until the end, and not a single dollar more than that. It hits you like a slow, quiet disappointment, the kind that settles in before you even realize what you're feeling. Then you find out that a coworker doing the exact same job as you, just in another department, earns 80,000. And once you know that, you can't unknow it. The difference isn't just $30,000 on paper, it's a nicer apartment, a better car, and a whole different set of choices, all for doing the same 8 hours of work you already do. 50,000 is the level where you can finally see the whole ladder, both how far you've climbed and how far there still is to go. That's exactly what makes it the hardest place to stand. Level 4. 75,000 a year. The real change doesn't show up in your bank account first, it shows up in how your mornings feel. You wake up, and money isn't the first thing on your mind anymore. It's still there in the background, but it no longer runs your entire day the way it used to. For the first time, you decide what you actually want before you stop to check what you can afford. You move into a place with a second bedroom that you turn into an office, a kitchen you actually cook in, and a street quiet enough to sleep through the night. None of it is luxury. It's just the first home you picked because you wanted it, instead of the first place that was willing to take you. You book a flight without waiting weeks for the price to drop, and you buy groceries without watching the total climb at the register. People start calling you successful, and you let them. But the word never quite fits. It feels like it belongs to someone else, like you're wearing a jacket that was made for a different person. The distance between you and your old friends starts to show now. Not in arguments, but in all the small things you've quietly started leaving out of conversations. 75,000 is the first income where your money starts working in the background, growing a little on its own while you sleep, instead of only leaving when you spend it. Level 5. 100,000 a year. 6 figures, the number everyone below you points to as the finish line. You spent years certain that hitting this number would feel like finally arriving somewhere. Instead, it feels like walking into a bigger room and realizing there are far more doors here than you ever expected. Taxes take a bigger bite than you pictured, and 100,000 on paper comes home closer to 70. In an expensive city, that's comfortable, but it isn't wealthy. To your parents, you're rich. To the person at the next desk, you're completely ordinary. To your neighbor in the bigger house, you're actually behind. Same salary, 3 completely different ways of seeing it. So you stop telling people what you make. It isn't modesty, it's protection, because once you hit 6 figures, everyone around you suddenly has a plan for money that isn't theirs. Going from 75 to 100,000 didn't transform your life the way going from 20 to 35 once did. That early jump changed how you actually live day to day. This one only gave you a few more options to choose from. You finally have the number you chased for 10 years, and you realize the chase itself was the thing driving you the whole time. Actually holding it feels nothing like wanting it did. 100,000 doesn't answer the question you've been asking all these years. It just gives you enough breathing room to finally notice you were asking the wrong question the entire time. Level 6. 150,000 a year. Now the money actually starts to show, not in a flashy way, but in ways the people around you can see. The apartment is nicer, the car is newer, And the trips are real vacations now, instead of a long weekend, an hour up the highway. But the biggest change isn't any of that. It's social. When your friends talk about being stressed over money, you slowly realize you can't quite follow it anymore. It isn't that you stopped caring about them, it's that you honestly can't feel that kind of pressure from where you are now, and that quiet forgetting starts to put distance between you. A friend asks to borrow money. The amount is nothing to you, but for them, it's the whole month. You say yes before they even finish asking. The way they thank you carries a weight you weren't ready for. You live in the same city and walk the same streets, and yet money has come to mean two completely different things to each of you. You start measuring your life in freedom instead of paychecks. Could you quit your job tomorrow without panicking? Could you disappear for a month if you wanted to? For the first time, the honest answer is almost. At 150,000, the real distance isn't in the things you can buy anymore. It's in all the everyday money worries you've quietly stopped even noticing. Level 7. 250,000 a year. It's a different world up here, with different problems and a whole new language to go along with them. You talk about tax strategy now, not tax refunds. Where to put your money, not whether there's any left at the end of the month. Your accountant costs more than your first car ever did. The people around you earn close to what you earn now. You didn't plan it that way. It's just that life quietly sorts people into groups by what they make. The dinners are different now. Nobody grabs for the check, and nobody suggests the cheaper option, simply because the price stopped being part of the decision at all. You stop trying to explain your life to anyone earning far less than you. It isn't arrogance. It's that the things you'd have to say just don't make sense to someone standing where you used to stand. Mention that your taxes are complicated to someone making 35,000, and you watch their face change. Not into judgment exactly, but into distance, like you've just reminded them how far apart you are. Now you're the one people look up at, and having stood on both ends of that stair doesn't make the room feel any warmer. If anything, it makes it feel emptier. 250,000 buys you a smaller circle of people who finally understand you. It's quieter up here, and you learn to call that quiet privacy instead of loneliness. Level 8, 500,000 a year. At this point, money almost disappears from your daily life. You stop checking prices and you stop checking your balance, because neither one changes anything about what you decide to do. Instead, you start measuring every choice in time. What's eating up your hours, what can buy those hours back, and what keeps earning money for you while you sleep. Your problems have new names now. Estate planning, trusts, capital gains. These are words that didn't exist anywhere in your life back when you made 20,000. There's a real isolation that comes with this level. It isn't quite loneliness, but it's something close to it. A quiet that follows you around. The person you used to be at the bottom, eating out of cans between shifts, wouldn't even recognize the life you're living now. 500,000 stops being about what you're able to buy. It becomes about everything you're finally able to ignore. Level 9. $1 million a year. You don't say that number out loud. Nobody at this level ever does. Money like this lives in tax filings and wire transfers and in phone calls with lawyers who charge you by the minute. You get invited into rooms where the real decisions get made. Not because anyone knows your name, but because your judgment and your money are useful to the people already sitting at the table. It isn't an invitation to belong with them, it's an invitation to be useful to them. And you take it anyway, because at this level, that's actually the good kind of invitation to get. You still remember the parking lot, the $5 meal eaten in the car, and the card that wouldn't go through. You remember all of it the way you remember an address you lived at as a child. It's real and specific and clear in your mind. And it's also somewhere you could never actually go back to. At $1 million a year, money stops being something you have. To everyone else in the room, it becomes something you are, even though you're the only one who can't quite see it that way. Somewhere right now, someone is making $10 an hour. They're on a break in a parking lot, eating something cheap out of a paper bag. A spider web crack across their phone screen, the gas gauge sitting under half. They're searching for a way out, late at night, convinced that the whole thing comes down to the number on their paycheck. But it doesn't. What really matters is what that number does to the gap between who you are inside and who the world is willing to let you become. The paycheck lands every 2 weeks, the same as always. It never asks who you are. It simply takes whoever shows up to collect it. It's the same person the whole way up the ladder. The only thing that ever really changed was how the world kept deciding to treat him, one number at a time.